Welcome to the 5-Year You podcast, a show dedicated to helping you become the best version of yourself one day at a time. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Kat, and we promise to keep it raw, real, and relatable.
Are you ready to grow? Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today's episode is called Seeking Substance, and it is our 4th coaching call that we take our clients through, and it is all about how you spend your life. How are you doing today, Kat?
Good. I'm waking up. I'm alive. We're recording this first thing in the morning. So, I'm just here, chugging the coffee, getting there.
That's good. We trying something new, recording a little earlier today. So let's see how it goes. So this episode is the 4th of our coaching episodes. We are taking the listener through our layers of life framework that we use to help people discover a new path in life. And I actually heard something really interesting this week before we jump into the show, that we go through these seasons in our lives. So through school, we have like this framework. We get out of high school, we still know our framework. For most of us, it's get a job, go to college. And what's going on in those early years is we're establishing our ego. We're establishing ourself, that shell that everybody else sees around us. When you get into your mid-30s, 40s, 50s, a shift starts to happen and you start to kind of question the who am I part of your life. And there's no real framework for that. There's no school that we go to. We kind of get done with school early on and head out, and that's really it. So when I heard this, I thought, our layers of life can really help people discover that new path, because I think a lot of us go through this at some point, and for it to be in this book that I'm listening to right now, it really did resonate. Like, this is a big thing when you kind of start to go, okay, what is my life about? How am I going to spend my time moving forward? In the early days, it's really easy. You fill your time with school, and then you fill it with your work while you're establishing yourself. And then something shifts and you get the flows down of like doing your job, and you're taking in clients, or you're doing whatever you're doing with your employment. But you want something more substantive, and you want more substance to your life. So the layer of life, the substance part, has 4 aspects. It's got financial, recreational, lifestyle, and occupational. So how you spend your time day to day and throughout the year. Which one should we start with this time, Kat?
We can do it in the order that you just said. I think Andrew and I could talk about the financial aspect for a long time. We both come to the show with backgrounds. For me as a financial writer, for Andrew as a CPA, and I wrote a money book for moms. And so to us, having an understanding and appreciation and our respect for money goes a long way into how you live your life. And so, as a reminder, our teaching is that authenticity is the path to happiness. And when it comes to the financial aspects, a lot of people live this part of their life from the outside in, right? You worry about how you can upgrade your house. You worry about, your car, how many vacations, all of these different things that you spend your money on. And what we encourage people to do is to look within themselves and say what you really want when it comes to money. There was a time not too long ago where my monthly spending was double what it is now, because I had a much larger house. I had kids were in private school. There were a lot more expenses, but there were also dual incomes. So when I started being a solo mom to my kids, I had to cut out a lot of different things. I sold my house. I started renting. I put my kids in public school. And the relief I feel from having a monthly spend that is half of what it was before, I can't even express what that's done for my mental health, how much relief I feel. And I have just really come to realize over the last year or two that less is more. And I've always been very frugal and good with money, but now I feel a sense of peace and control over it that I've never had before. And I realize that for the people that we coach, a lot of times we can go through and ask you to go through what you spend your money on. And you can ask yourself, do I love that? Does that bring me joy? is it worth spending money on right now if it means that I retire 5 months later? Like, is this worth my life now? Whatever it is, because I think a lot of people don't realize the impact that it might have on your later life. So we really try to get people to decide how they want to live, what activities mean the most to them. And it's pretty eye-opening.
It is. And I think that we could probably we'll talk about finances right now and maybe a little bit because I think this one kind of finances touches everything. But I think it would be
Everything.
really good to do a show just on like some money stuff because it really is our backgrounds. You've written a great money book. Like you said, I'm a CPA. I've paid off my mortgage really quickly is what I was kind of known for in the finance community early on. And there are certain things that I didn't know about and I had to learn. And all of that came around to deciding what kind of lifestyle did I want. And when you get clear on the other parts of it, the money part falls into place a little more naturally because I think a lot of us get stuck in the want, whereas like we see what everybody else has and we go, "Ooh, I want that." And part of our brain thinks that we want it to fit in or we want it because we think it's going to make us happy or it's going to kind of fulfill this need. And often what happens is it does, but that need disappears and gets replaced by the next thing. So we're never really addressing the underlying issue, which might be for a lot of people is I hate my job. So I need to buy these things every month, week, year, depending on the price to feel better about going to work. So you kind of get stuck in this dead loop of like, I have to keep going to work because I need the money and then I get the money and then I go spend something more than I need. And then you're kind of tumbling. So this layer is really to take everything aside and go pause for a second. How do you actually want your life to look? How do you want to spend your days? How much recreation do you want in a day? Do you want to have more hours free than you work? Or do you enjoy what you do so much and you're like, you know what, if I'm working 12 hours a day, I love it. I love what I do. This is great. So this area really is about deciding the lifestyle that you want to live. I know for myself, I love what we're doing here. I love helping people. I love coaching. I love helping people one-on-one, two-on-one as we do. I could do that for, I'd love to do it for 12 hours a day, but I know my energy and I know like 5 hours a day is a really good point of like being able to really put myself into everything fully. And then I use the rest of the time to digest, process and come up with new ideas and help our clients. Like I think about our people and how we can help them
Yeah.
and all of that. So can we just, let's just talk about recreation because I think that's what everybody wants
Yeah.
more of.
It's
And
very tied in. Yeah.
I think we kind of start with that. We go like, oh, I just want to retire to a beach. And it's like, do you like sand? do you,
Yeah.
like, I think we all have that vision, but the reality of it is, wherever you're living right now, unless you're moving, you're probably going to be living there. So how do you want to spend, like, what are the good parts of your day that are just for you or for your family? So
Hmm.
let's talk a little bit about recreation right now.
Yeah, and I saw an interesting post on LinkedIn the other day, and there was I believe he was a financial planner, and he talked about how his dad could not afford to take them snow skiing, could not afford to take his kids snow skiing, but he would bring them to watch the snow skiers. He would just kind of put them in that environment. He would try to expose them to that, but he couldn't actually pay for the lift tickets and the rentals and all that stuff. And so this guy, obviously became a financial planner, and he just showed a picture of his family and his two boys skiing. And it was a very full circle moment for him to be able to afford that. For some people, there are these things that mean a lot to them. For me personally, I have no attachment to snow skiing, right? So that's not something that I would want to allocate, couple thousand of my dollars every year to. But for other people, that's really important for them. So the really important step is to ask yourself, how do I want to spend my time, like Andrew said? And am I enjoying it? Do I love going golfing at the country club? And I definitely don't want to take that membership off of my monthly expenses. Or am I just happy taking a walk in nature and camping every year? whatever it is, we're not here to judge how you spend your money. We're here to encourage you to spend your money on the recreation that means something to you, that adds something to your life, that is authentically you. Because there's probably a lot of people going snow skiing like, wow, I actually super hate this. And I only did it because everyone in my office is going snow skiing, but it's cold and I'm plummeting down a mountain at lightning speed and I'm terrified. Like there's people out there who spent thousands of dollars to do something that they don't like because everyone else in their family did or whatever. So this is the time to take a deep dive and say, what do I actually want to do? How do I want to spend this limited time on earth that I'm given?
I think that is really the crux of it, is kind of looking at how you want to enjoy your free time. And for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
it's something different. If you like having a house in the Hamptons and that is your joy, by all means, keep doing that. But if that house is causing you stress and a lifestyle that you don't want, then you have to kind of weigh those against each other. I'm going to sidetrack, and I know I shouldn't, but you're saying snow skiing, and so I know you're from Louisiana.
My, here
I'm
we go.
I'm from North Canada, Manitoba, and so do you just call water skiing skiing?
Yes, water
Okay,
skiing is skiing.
so you don't say we're going water skiing. You just say we're going skiing. Okay. So in Canada, we say we're going water skiing, and we just call downhill skiing skiing, like what you call
Yeah,
snow
well,
skiing
one
skiing.
day we'll do an episode on the differences between being American and Canadian. This comes up all the time.
So
Um,
many things.
yeah, but yeah, we tease each other. But yes, I am from South Louisiana and there is not a lot of snow there. So yes, it is snow skiing.
Fair enough.
Water skiing, much cheaper sport, much easier just
And
anyway.
yeah, I'm like, well, there's the boat and stuff like that. But again, it
Oh
depends on what
gosh,
you
here we
like.
go.
Sorry, the accountant's coming in. When we're talking about recreation, I think that is the best place to start with people, because I think that's what we're all craving, is like, if you work a 9 to 5, you come home, you have such limited time, and you're seeing your family for a couple of hours, and that's usually making supper and doing the run around and then getting them to bed. And then you don't have a lot of time for yourself. So I think you have to look at, okay, well, what is my recreation? What is the price of my recreation? And you're talking about going out and doing stuff and the things that you like, which is a big part of it. But the other part of the cost that we don't see, and that's going to come into our next one with occupation, which is how much is this employment that I'm doing for an appearance, and how much is it doing it for the lifestyle that I actually want, not the one I'm trying to portray. And I know I had that, when I was in my old house and when I was married, it was very showing up, making sure we had everything everybody else had. And it drove me nuts because everybody was just acquiring more and more. And I'm very debt adverse and I just couldn't justify it. And now that I'm divorced and a solo dad, I am looking at things quite differently. And it really is an ability to kind of go like, what work is fulfilling and what is my life about? Because that is the most important thing. It really is, like, you want to have fulfilling work that you don't feel like you ever have to leave, I think is kind of my
Yeah.
personal dream. So when you're looking at that recreation, keep in mind that the job you have, which most people feel like, I can't leave this job, I need it for my debt and for my mortgage and things like that. But it's all tied into a certain identity that you might have new thoughts about. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that you have to tear everything down. It just means that you might want to look at things like we did and go, smaller place is a lot easier. I don't have to clean as much. I don't have to buy as much. I'm going to move into it. It's going to be pretty much full of my stuff already. So I don't have the need to like fill up more rooms. So there are pros and cons to each thing.
Yeah, I absolutely love having a smaller place. It's such an immense amount of relief for me. And I want to encourage people, and I'm moving into the career part now. I want to encourage people that you're never stuck. You're never stuck. You always have room to learn new skills, to shift, to change. Speaking of how you're using your spare time, I just wrote an article yesterday of like all the different websites that offer free classes. And there are so many ways to learn something new and to make a change in your career. And it sounds crazy, but sometimes it's worth it to shift into a career that is less high stress, and spend more time with your family and the time that you have so that you get more enjoyment out of it. I have a friend who worked in consulting, a very, very high pressure job, and she took a 1 year sabbatical. Her work allowed that. And she has been working at Lululemon for the year, like just doing retail. And it's such a brain break for her because the decision making is minimal, right? And the amount of things that you have to worry about and travel to and all of those things are so much less. And it's something to consider. I think a lot of people feel stuck or they feel like they're just trying to get to that next thing or that next raise. But at any time, you can completely reinvent what you do for work. Most of us have to work to earn money to live. That is the reality of most people who live in North America. We've got to work. We've got to work to pay for our stuff. And it's just up to you how much you want to work and how much stuff do you want to have to pay for. And again, we're not here to judge how much stuff you have, how much you work or anything like that. What we're saying is if you are feeling stuck and unhappy, take a critical look at everything that you do in a day and ask yourself, is this what I want? Do I like it? Do I like this job? Do I like this commute? Do I like working from home? Do I like the pressure? Do I like the presentations? Do I like the meetings? Ask yourself. And if the answer is like, no, I just do it so that everyone has this house to live in, well, there's lots of ways to make a living. And maybe just play with that thought.
I like that. I think at this stage for most people, it really is about giving them permission to kind of just pause, get outside your situation, look at it and look at where it's going. And then go 5 years into the future and see how you actually want it to be. I think so many of us are running around with our heads down when it comes to our work because we're so busy that we rarely look up to see where it's taking us. And I remember when I was in corporate, like there was structure and, first you were like a junior accountant, then you were a mid one, and then they had a very, very nice structure. And what I found was that everybody felt the need to climb this ladder, but nobody was asking if the ladder was leaning against the right wall. And I looked at it and I'm like, this is not leaning against my happiness wall. This is leaning against my miserable wall. And if I keep climbing up this, I'm just going to be more and more miserable in this place that I'm at. And it's not right for me. And I tried to talk about that with some people in the office. Nobody understood it because they were so focused on climbing this ladder that had been given to them, because that was easier in that moment at that younger age to I'm just going to keep climbing because that's what you do. But you get to the top of that ladder and then you look around and you're like, well, now what? And a lot of times that's where people find themselves, like I was talking about earlier in this episode. It's like they find themselves going, that wasn't it. It was something to do and I'm glad I did it, but I need to know what I'm doing now. Now doing a lifestyle design where you start to think about how you're going to live your life and how your lifestyle is going to look is really, really important because it's your life. This is it, folks.
Yeah, it is. It's your life. And like Andrew said, sometimes people need to feel like they have purpose or to feel like there's a way out. And that is what we like to give our clients. It's just hope. Like sometimes even just thinking about other jobs you might like to do while you're driving on your commute is like enough of a spark of joy and happiness to like cling to and like toy with the idea to like help you see a different future. There's so many people who are tired and they're stressed and they're having health struggles and they can like barely figure out like when to eat dinner because their kids have so many activities and there's just so much stress. And what we're saying is that we had lives like that and now they look very different, and having a quieter life, calmer life, a life with less financial overhead and responsibilities, has done a lot for our mental health.
Absolutely. Our costs have been, like you said, cut in half. And it really does help us to see quite differently when we do things. And when we look at things now, it really becomes more of a, is that worth the time of work to do
Mm-hmm.
this other thing? And a lot of times the answer is yes. It's like, yes, I'll happily do the thing I love to do more and more. But it's a much more balanced situation than it ever has been. I mean, it's important that you acknowledge that your best years of your lives are really like your 30s through your 50s, 60s. And I'm meaning like you're usually in the best health of your life. You're fit, you're physically active. If there's things you don't like, it's pretty easy to shift things around.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't always have to be all at once. We've talked about, we're all about making small, manageable changes. And so even like Kat said, with the occupation stuff, with your job, even if it's just driving to work and imagine being a lion tamer in the circus because that's what you wanted to be as a kid,
Oh
is
gosh,
okay. That is okay. I mean, maybe
we
you don't do
support
it, but
you.
we support you though. It's important to, it's really important to have hope in your life and to not
Yes.
feel that dread. And you can't have hope and dread in the same brain at the same time. So let's start finding those things that light you up that you want to do. Maybe you want to just have an Etsy store that sells a few of your printables or the things that you sew or whatever it is you're doing. Find those things. There is a great thing with this life that we're in right now is that there literally is a million ways to make money
So
on
many
the internet and
options.
it's just a matter of you finding that one that resonates the most. So we've covered recreation, we've covered occupation, lifestyle, we've kind of
Covered.
touched on a little bit. So
We've covered finances too.
we covered finances. So the way I would advise our listener right now to go about this is in this order. First of all, think about the lifestyle that you want to leave, and then think about your recreation, then think about the occupation, and then the finances. Because most of us go the opposite route. Most of us think, I want to make a lot of money. This is when we talk about coming from the outside in, where it's all about the external part of life without really acknowledging who we are on the inside. Most of us will go, I need to make a lot of money. We're thinking about our finance. I need to make, 6 figures a year, 7 figures a year, whatever it is for that person. And then they go, okay, well, what job's going to do that? So they go to occupation, and that occupation takes them, they look at it, and I'll throw myself under the bus here. They go, okay, well, accountants make good money. I'm going to be an accountant. I don't like it, but I'm going to do it. And then they realize they're working 80 hours a week like I was, and they recognize that the recreation part doesn't exist. They have a couple of hours in the evening that you're just dead tired with. And then they look at that lifestyle and they go, someday I'll get to my lifestyle. Someday I'll be on that beach for 1 week a year, and that will make it all worthwhile. What we're saying is when you start from the other end, when you start from lifestyle and you think about how you want to spend your recreation time and what's important to you, which nurtures you, then you think about your job and the finances around it. And that is a completely opposite conversation. And it was really hard the first time I thought like that, but now it makes so much more sense. Everything is now based on, is it going to affect my lifestyle in a way that serves me or hinders me? And I process it from that point rather than going, I want this, so I need to make more money. So I got to go find a job or a client or whatever that's going to make more money. This is a very, very different approach, and it's a lot calmer and it's more respectful of myself. And you stop playing catch up with the Joneses and the neighbors and everybody else.
I agree. And one episode that we did that is related to this, when you finish listening to this one, is The Rules Are Fake. And I love that episode because what we encourage people to do is to just question, why do we do what we do? Why is home ownership considered the American dream? Is that something I want to agree with? Why is paying 100,000 plus for our kids to go to college? Why is that the standard? Is there another way to do it? Taking the time to really ask what ideas we have been fed by society, the media, movies, TV, and instead of accepting it, because I think we all accept it without knowing, because it just sort of seeps into our pores and our brains over time as we grow up, as this is how it is. This is the experience you should have. These are the markers of success. But take the time to question those things and ask yourself if you really believe that. What does success mean to you? What does financial security mean to you? And can you be happy with a life that maybe looks different? And maybe you like the life. Maybe you love the house and the entertaining and all of those things. Again, we support you. But we want to encourage you to take the time to question and make sure that you're living your life authentically and how you actually want to live it. You're not living it because someone told you that there was these steps to take, that there was this checklist to follow in order to be quote unquote successful and happy.
And from a much more personal standpoint, we both did the checklist and we recognized that there was something missing in the checklist, and it was us. And now we have a very different checklist that we work from, and it is a lot better. The other thing I'd ask you to do while you're thinking of what success is, and I work with my clients, we work with our clients with this, I want you to think about what is enough for you. What is that? Because we're all climbing some sort of ladder. We're here to grow. We're here to expand. That is good. But I want you to think about what is enough for you. What is enough for you at the end of the day? What is enough for you with your job, finances, with your family? What is that? Because I don't think most of us think about that. I think most of us think of more. And when you allow yourself to have the very uncomfortable conversation of what is enough, it's going to open up a whole new part of your brain, and you're going to go, wow, no, I have enough, or I just need these other couple of things, but I don't need the long list that I had before. And we're going to get to the list stuff in the 5th of these episodes and the next one, where we talk about significance and the things that we want to achieve in life. But for right now, think about what enough is. As one of the things that I do is energy healing. And it's one of the things that most people, when we muscle test for, nobody knows. Nobody knows what enough is. We haven't been raised with that. Nobody has told us that, I'll use a metaphor, but like getting 90% on your exam is enough. We don't have to get that 10% if we don't want to be that kind of student. If you want to be, go for it. But there is something very, very key. And it's not always adding more, it's deciding what's enough. And sometimes taking things away makes things enough. That's the other thing I've found.
I love that. I think, and I believe we also have an episode about enough as well. So we hope that this has been helpful to all of you. If anything, we hope that it just gave you something new to think about, and maybe even being open to a different mindset, a different paradigm is a sign of growth. And of course, if you have any questions or you're interested in working with us, you can email us at hello@5yearyou.
Look forward to hearing from you. And we'll see you in the next episode, where we cover the last layer of the layers of life. And it is significance. And it is where most of us spend our time before we discover the layers of life and go inwards. So until then, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Kat. Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Hey guys, quick disclaimer. We're podcasters on the internet. If you need to seek professional help, please go see your healthcare professional.